Hi, Freddie.
Hi, Father. How are you? It's
Good.
been a
Well,
few days since
yes,
I've
welcome
seen
back
you.
from Melbourne.
Yeah, happy to be here. I'm also really happy to be back on the podcast, actually, because we've been having a few chats recently outside of the podcast, and I think that my dad's self-control in his beliefs goes a bit crazy. So it's good to be back on here where we can be amicable and not have arguments and resolve our differing opinions. That's what I'm hopeful for, at least, that we can continue doing this.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
good.
And thank you for the feedback we've had from our listeners. Really appreciate it. We've got a number of topics we want to go through today. First of all, we want to talk about Syria. We want to talk about some of the slowing economic growth in Australia and what sort of challenge that presents to the government. We're going to talk a little bit about the fracas between Pauline Hanson and Fatima Payman. We're going to talk a bit about Bitcoin, Donald Trump's favorite topic. And finally, we happened to go lucky enough to go to the Wharf Review recently, which is a political satire and comedy. And we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, great. Sounds good. I actually have one quick question before we begin talking. What does fracas actually mean? Because I've never heard that before in my life. Like, I don't know if that's just something
Fracas is like a fight, a screaming fight.
Screaming fight.
My impression is a sort of a noisy fight.
Please, listeners, go look that up and see how incorrect he is. That would really entertain me. But okay, let's get into Syria. So obviously a lot has happened in the past week. God, don't even know where to start.
Well, I think it's huge, really, because Assad, as you know, is sort of the evil dictator and has been in charge of Syria for so long with the support of Russia and Iran. And suddenly there's this Islamic group who's obviously not happy because Syria is in a desperate state. Like 90% of people live in poverty and there's just destruction everywhere. And so they took over Aleppo and they're marching on Damascus.
Yeah. And they also secured the city of Homs, I believe, in the past few days. But I mean, definitely a lot is happening there. It must be, even though to some people this is surely a positive thing, it must be terrifying, though, to be going into another phase of such like what has been a brutal conflict, right? To have another whole phase of that beginning. I have a friend from exchange who's from Syria, and the way that he seemed to talk about it is very scary. You don't know what's going to happen. It's just causing a lot of unrest as well. But, you know, I mean, Assad has been in power for far too long, I think.
You know,
a lot of people believe.
Yeah, but if you had no hope under the current regime, maybe anything's better than what the scenario is. But it is interesting, you know, another ISIS or group like that. The question is, are they benevolent to the people? Hopefully they are, not in the guise of, you know, Afghanistan, the Taliban, etc., who talk a good game and then, you know,
did they ever talk a good game?
Well, they sort of did. They said it would be different this time, but clearly it's not being different with their recent proclamation that women can't deliver babies and can't
they can't hear each other.
They can't be nurses
Have you heard this?
Midwives, which is bizarre.
Women, first of all, are not allowed to speak in public. Now they're not allowed to hear each other speak, even if they're in private. The simple act of hearing another woman speak is considered like.
But how do they stop? They stop hearing? They close their ears or something?
No, because women are not allowed to be by themselves at any time. They always have to have a man there with them. So I think it goes that if a woman hears another woman speak and takes it in and is around another woman, even, they'll be punished by their husband or by the Taliban, which is terrifying. How are you supposed to stop yourself from hearing? I mean,
that's bizarre.
I'm big ears. I listen to everything everyone says. I sit at restaurants and try and overhear the people at the next table. So that seems impossible and just like such a basic denial of fundamental human rights, you know? So
just getting back to Syria, it'll be interesting because, you know, Russia has supported Syria because it gives them a port in that part of the world, the Russian Air Force base, the Assad regime, yes. And so that's going to be fascinating how that plays out, and hopefully for the good of the Syrian people, whatever the scenario might be. But, you know, just to add to the scenario that is the Middle East, it seems like the good news is there's a ceasefire with Hezbollah, between Israel and Hezbollah. And, Trump's latest proclamation that he wants it all resolved Gaza before he takes office, or there'll be
not a latest proclamation.
Or they'll be held to pay. No, but his more recent tweet.
That was from before the election.
Trump's Truth Social proclamation that was more recent about.
Yeah, but did we talk about the ceasefire with Hezbollah in the last
Not
episode? No, we didn't.
You mentioned it.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, like we said last time, it's an excellent thing, obviously, saving innocent lives. It's really going to be scary to see where that goes next, and to see how the eyes of the world, where they turn to when they're not focused on the ground invasion of like a functioning developed country. What I think a lot of people would consider a developed country, that is Lebanon. So yeah. Obviously.
And did you see the other big news this week was South Korea president imposing martial law for 24 hours? It was all a bit crazy. I don't know all the detail of it, but he reversed that decision 24 hours later, and now he's under question of whether he's going to survive.
But it's strangely comforting. I don't know if he chose himself of his own volition to reverse the decision. I think he was very
pushed to reverse.
He was pushed. I mean, it's comforting to see where democratic processes actually work, and where the checks and balances act as a way to stop authoritarianism. I mean, as soon as he did this, the rest of his government just said, no, who do you think you are? You can't go around instigating martial law. There's no reason for that at this time being. And now he's going to be out, and, hopefully South Korea will continue with its goings on. But it was a weird little thing to happen in the middle of the week.
He's good at karaoke at the G20 meeting.
Really?
He sang a karaoke song.
Of course, you know that. Do you know what song it was? Was it K-pop?
I forget.
Surely it was Pink or something.
Anyway, so that's interesting. So watch this space in terms of Syria and what's going on in the world in that regard. And I suppose the other political thing that just happened in France was the Michel Barnier, the Prime Minister, fell. No confidence vote from the left and the right. And so France is in a whole lot of pain as they welcome everyone to the relaunch of Notre Dame this weekend. And there's calls for Macron to resign.
I mean, it's not a good time, is it? Because they were barely holding themselves together by a few threads before this happened. I don't know how they're going to succeed through this afterwards. And if, in fact, Macron does end up leaving office, obviously we don't want that, because the other option is Marine Le Pen. Then who are the last?
Or the far left, it could be.
Yeah, I suppose. But she's got a lot of support in recent years.
I don't think Macron's going to go early. By the constitution, he can stay another 2 years. So why
I just
would
think he has to pull together the economy, because we're going to talk about the Australian economy as well. But obviously the French economy has been absolutely tanking, and they've been doing the opposite of what they should be. And it's scary to see such a stable economy, one of the most stable economies in Europe, and stable nation states, on a foreign policy front, to be under such pressure, especially while the rest of the world is going right. And
they have an incredible level. They have a high level of debt in France, and as you know, there's an incredible level of entitlement in France.
Now they have a much higher level of debt than they did.
Yeah, in France, in terms of all the social services, and any government who tries to reduce some of that, there is uproar.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a topic for another day.
So yeah, obviously that has been very full of surprises and worries, really. And there's similar things going on with the German government. We're going to try and talk about it, I think, in the next episode, and really go into the background behind the different German political parties and how they're changing and shifting.
And Angela Merkel's latest book is soon out, so I'm looking forward to reading that.
We can both read it, and we can let you guys know how we go. So let's get to Australian politics.
Sure.
Yes. So I don't know about you, Dad. It's funny to call you Dad. But the other day, last week, I had a bit of a laugh when I went on the news, and all I could see, and on Instagram as well, was Fatima payment absolutely destroying Pauline Hanson in Parliament. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, that was quite a fracas, as I mentioned
Right.
earlier. And, Pauline is quite whatever you think of her and her politics, she's quite the entertainer, the way she grabs attention. And Fatima Payman is also very strongly opinionated. Look, it's interesting, the whole thing. There was a lot of complaints about that sort of behavior from both of them is not appropriate for the Senate, on both sides. But so clearly Pauline is known as being racist. There's no surprise in that, but it's not, I don't think it's bad that Fatima called her out on that. I don't have any issue with that at all.
Of course not.
In the whole thing. The thing it annoys me a little bit about Fatima is she got voted in as a Labor senator.
All right.
And then she couldn't agree with what the Labor Party was doing.
You're already getting onto this topic. I was going to have so much more to say about the confrontation in Parliament.
Oh, okay. No, go on.
But now all I have to do is just stick up for the Voice Party and Fatima. But, okay, no, just what I have to say is, because I think we should go into the real details of what exactly happened, is the fact that Fatima just made a statement saying that Pauline had said something racist. And the fact that Pauline was so defensive about it when she was found out, the irony of it, a court like a week before this happened to have said racist comments. She was found guilty of that. And then she herself did not acknowledge that, simply said Fatima was being, it said she was questioning her right to being in Parliament, which is almost sounds like you're about to do when we're getting into the Labour Party. But she was questioning her right to Parliament when it comes to her citizenship.
No, that's crazy.
Which is insane because of what's been happening in Afghanistan. How could she possibly revoke her citizenship at this time? That's a very difficult situation. It's not her fault. She's doing everything she can to do it. And Pauline Hanson is completely ignorant of all of that.
The interesting thing is I liken Pauline Hanson a little bit to Trump in some ways. The standards people have for Pauline are lower than they have for other people. They give her a pass because she actually is quite funny sometimes, right?
In an insane way.
Yes, I agree.
She's like a populist leader.
Yes, they give her a pass, right? And she can be more racist than other people and people will accept it. In that way. So it's really interesting. And it will be fascinating when the election is called because Fatima will be running as an independent.
Not as an independent. Fatima started her own party.
Oh, okay. Well, an independent party.
Technically.
But just her or there's other senators?
I think at the moment it's
like
just
the Jackie Lambie party.
Yeah, okay, all right. We're going to compare those two.
Well, yeah, she's very successful, Jackie Lambie.
Yeah, no, I know she is, as we saw in the Wolf Review the other day. No, she started a Voice Party. I mean, obviously there's no one else has joined it yet because doesn't that have to happen through the next election?
Well, she'd need to get candidates ready.
Exactly. And like you said, we were talking about this a bit earlier. My dad said, well, is it fair that she got elected as a Labour candidate and then she decided to leave the party and start her own party? Is that fair to democracy itself and the democratic process?
It's possible. The fact is the next election will determine it. I actually think she might really struggle to retain her Senate position, right? Not being under the wing of the Labor Party. That's the likely scenario.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that she's got a lot of strong...
Because she's from Western Australia, right? The Western Australian Senate.
Sure.
And so anyway, that's interesting. So we wanted to talk about the economic situation in Australia because that was new news that the economy has slowed dramatically. And it's a big worry for the government, the Labor Party, because, the election will be called at some point over coming months.
And we're going to have that phrase repeating in our heads. Is your life better? Was your life better 3 years ago or whatever? Or is it 4 years ago? Or is it better now? We're going to have that phrase being repeated to us. And as the economy gets worse and as living standards get worse for the everyday person, that in itself is only going to get worse too. The approval ratings of the government.
It's fascinating because, the government has done a great job on some things, like the whole relation with China and trade and the Pacific Islands and, doing better work on climate change, et cetera, and a number of social reforms, all of which are good. But it just seems like Albo is just drifting at the moment. There was an article the other day that talked about Jim Chalmers should be ready to take over as Prime Minister. Even if Albo should win, he should step aside. And it's interesting. I just feel like he doesn't quite have the energy he had before. And the challenge economically is we're only growing as economy because of the high levels of immigration that we've had. And that's all being cut because both Labor and the coalition want to cut it. And then we've had these surpluses, and they're going to also go away based on all things because commodities won't be of the same value, and we're going to have big deficits going forward, which is probably why the government will call election before delivering another budget for the people.
Can I say, though, with saying that Albanese seems like he has a little bit less energy in him than he did before, we were watching him a few nights ago. I've been watching him quite a bit. And the speeches that he's giving and the way he's approaching interviews has been on point. I don't think there's anything more that he could have done in the way that he was presenting himself to the public. And to me, it seems like his confidence has only grown and his assurances to the public have only grown.
How do your friends react to the HEX debt being forgiven or being reduced by 20% or something?
I mean, who could complain, right? Yeah. I mean, I think that there's been a lot of stuff going on with education in the past few years that has just confused and downright frustrated people. I mean, obviously the different, the increased prices for arts degrees.
Well, that was just stupid. That was a coalition policy.
I know it was a coalition policy. So I think you just see the
to try and encourage people to do STEM, right?
Yeah,
type of stuff.
Yeah, but people aren't going to change what they want to do with their life just based off like a debt that they're going to pay back later on. I mean, everyone has debt. If you have a little bit more of debt, then I guess you have to deal with it afterwards. So yeah, I just think it shows a clear difference between the two governments, obviously, as I'm sure you think as well.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting. Well, I think they had a big win at the last week of Parliament, getting all those the housing policy and all these things through, and the Greens blinked, and because the Greens have some challenges as well, right? In the Queensland election, the Greens did particularly badly, and so they're thinking about their survival as well. And would they rather put their vote in with Labor and get some things through, or would they rather face a Dutton government?
It's fascinating as well because I think of the Greens, when you think of Queensland, right? They don't have any teals, and nearly every other state does at this point. And it's interesting how the Greens have tried to carve out a space for themselves where maybe a teal would have taken their own seat of government, but that hasn't happened. And so now the Greens aren't providing what the people want, and it's all this weird, it's lots of shifts happening, I think.
That's interesting. And did you see that Kylie Tink announced that she's not running for any
I did
seats?
See that. I mean, I think that's incredibly fair. Where does she even live? It would have been difficult to relocate. Yeah, well, then she would have been within what will now be Warringah?
Bradfield.
Oh, Bradfield. Okay.
No, Warringah is Zali. Our seat, we're based in Wollstonecraft, so it was North Sydney, but now we will be having Zali Stegel as our local member.
Yeah, by the hair of a knife. Is that an expression? The skin of our teeth.
Skin of our teeth.
By the skin of our teeth.
Nearby.
Something like that. Because I remember I zoomed in on the map when the Electoral Commission determined the new outlines, and it's really just nicking our house inside the new border of Warringah. Yeah. One street across, even a few houses across, and they're in Bradfield.
Anyway, it'll be interesting. She's putting her weight behind Zali and the candidate for Bradfield. But it'll be interesting what Kylie Tink does. I mean, she's probably the most unlucky person ever because she ran a good race and won that seat and is now out. But that's politics for you.
I mean, it's almost nice that she knows that she did what she could. and she got in, and she did a great job. And it's not of her own, lacking that she got out. It's just because of arbitrary, like, bureaucracy, essentially. Like, people didn't vote her out.
I know, but it doesn't help her. What's she going to do with
No,
her life? She's had
it
this
doesn't help her.
high-powered sort of MP position in
I'm
government.
sure she can go back to doing another one of those high-powered private jobs that she was doing before on the more corporate side of things.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
And we wanted to talk about Bitcoin.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
It just recently hit $100,000 a Bitcoin unit, which is pretty astounding. Someone was talking to me about it the other day, so I invested a bit myself, and it's so far gone up. And, clearly the US wants to be by far the world leader on this. Something Trump is quite interested in, the Republicans
America will be
in the
new
US.
Capital of the crypto world. That's
crypto
what he
world,
said, yes.
yeah, it's very interesting. And so whether that will replace traditional currencies and all that sort of thing going forward, it's a whole new world to learn about.
But also, it isn't the normal comparison with crypto and Bitcoin, etc. Isn't it with gold and the way that gold used to be this way to store your wealth without actually having it in money? I think that that's what I've seen. A lot of comparisons to what gold used to be. Bitcoin is now becoming that. Instead of a replacement for traditional currencies, it's going to become a way to store your wealth.
Maybe, Freddie. I don't know. I know gold's gone up quite a lot recently, as well as the stock market, as well as Bitcoin. So everything's going up at this point in time. Long may it continue. And getting back to your topic that you were just talking about, how do you keep government officials honest and within the realms of stuff? The biggest question of that is with the new Trump presidency. And I heard the other day, the greatest measure of controlling Trump will be the stock market, because that's what he truly cares about. And he doesn't want to see the stock market tank on his watch, because he'll feel like he's totally failed if that's the case. So that I found that very interesting, right? Versus the Supreme Court, versus, the Senate and everything else. It's the stock market.
When it comes to that as well, on the climate side of things, hopefully the climate revolution, the green revolution will have some effect. And people have put a lot of investment into sustainable sources of energy and a lot of work into that research and development. So I don't think that can be reversed. And hopefully, because of the stock market, Trump won't be so focused on getting rid of that growing movement. But obviously his chief of energy is CEO of multiple oil and gas companies, so doesn't believe climate change is real. So we're going to have to deal with that as well.
But it's good you're calmer about the Trump presidency now, a few weeks on.
I don't know if I'm calm. I guess that I suppose I've accepted it. I know there's nothing I can do about it. I know my place. I know we can come on here and have a little chat about it every now and again. And, really put actionables into the world. Do you know what I mean? Instead of just always talking about gender rights and talking about just equality across the board, actually making steps to achieving that and seeing how, yes, someone evil gets in power somewhere else, but we can still make a great difference where we are.
So we also went to the WARF Review last week, and the WARF Review is at the end of the calendar year, those who have not seen it. And it's a funny look and a musical look at the key stories in politics for the last year. And, they've got great characters in that. And they always do a great Pauline Hanson. They do a great Paul Keating and Albo, and it was great. But did you enjoy it, Freddie?
Of course I did. I mean, we're really lucky that we're able to go to this, because it's quite an amazing thing as well. And we were even talking about the impact that such a performance would have on the people who go see it, because a lot of the demographic that goes is maybe of an older generation, is more like white Australia, I guess you could say. So some of the things they talk about like fairly progressive, and they very clearly put themselves in the camp of the Labour Party and not the Liberals. So it'd be interesting to see how people react to such a performance and whether it confronts any of their pre-existing beliefs. I don't know if you think the same thing, but obviously it's hilarious and obviously it's very fun. My little sister sat beside me and squealed every time someone came out, started doing a new accent, and she loved the bit where who was dressed up as Taylor Swift?
Oh, Angus Taylor.
Angus Taylor was, Angus Taylor Swift. So that was rather fantastic. It's nice to have a bit of comedy and a bit of a laugh. All this stuff gets a bit depressing after a while. So it's good to see the light in it, you know, that things go on.
Well, Freddie, another good chat and discussion. We'll be back this week with another podcast. And in the meantime, you keep well.
Okay, sit tight, guys. We've loved chatting to you.
Bye.
Later.